निर्वेद ओडिशा को सब्सक्राइब करंतु आउ बेल आइकन को दबांतु आउ पांतु नवा वीडियो अपडेट्स यथाशीघ्र।
Emancipatory intellectual movement in Odisha and what Julie raised this very moral question it is, and what Professor Madam also narrated stories. If I have to think about myself and everybody here, most of them I know, we have our own stories, right? And coming from this all marginalized background, each of the step that we take, whether it is graduation, whether it is intermediate or MA or writing MPhil or writing PhD or writing an article, each of the step that we go, every step, you need to struggle so much. So emancipation and struggle actually goes together. It is not isolated. So probably, I don't know how, in last 10 years, if we sit and introspect Odisha, whether University of Hyderabad, Pondicherry, JNU, most of our people from Odisha, they actually led the movement. Okay, whether Babsa, Chinmay Mahanand supposed to be here, Jitendra Suna was the presidential candidate, right? So, and there are many form of organization who we were engaged in different universities. So, but when it comes to Odisha, we really seriously miss that atmosphere. So, when you grow, your responsibility also becomes so different. I cannot be a student anymore. I can teach to students. I can do research, right? So therefore, responsibility is something also need to be, think very seriously. When it comes to, suppose if I tell about my story, I teach one of the most elitist university in India. Every year, students pay 10 lakhs rupees for their course. So the experience teaching in Jindal is something like if someone coming from a Dalit background or tribal background, they are student or OBC. They are in a space to not to identify themselves as these all categories. The moment they would identify themselves as Dalit or Adivasis or lower caste, immediately they would be in the corner. Okay? If you go to any state university, anywhere in India, yes, of course, a student coming from marginalized background, they lack so many things in terms of language, in terms of articulation, in terms of confidence, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to understanding a subject in their own way, probably I would say that they are the best. The point of thinking about intellectual movement, how really we convert that into writing. I am very much concerned about the writing. I don't really concern about anything. When we think about Odisha, we do not have those writings. We do not have popular writings. If there is one problem, we see in a state like Maharashtra, again and again talking about Maharashtra is an inspiration for us, at least to me. Or take example of US, the people of color. If there is one atrocity, you see at least 100 newspaper report, at least 50 editorials articulated in different way. What is happening to state like Odisha? If at all we really have degrees, if at all we have really learned something from different university or in university from this state itself. It's not happening. I'm not actually working in Odisha. I'm not working on Odisha topic itself. Last year, it was my frustration to write an article during the election time. The absence of Ambedkarite politics, so therefore you see BJD or BJP. Right? Maybe 6 months back, we had a discussion somewhere in Odisha coffee house. and I propose an idea. What about Odia identity? Or that is, there is no homogeneous Odia identity, right? And in the name of Odia identity, you see so much politics. Of course, Jagannath is very much predominant across the state now. Of course, now you see the other form of Jagannath is, Jai Sri Ram, correct? And who are the people who think and write? It is not merely about atrocity on Dalit or displacement on Adivasi. If at all the discourse has to be there in the public, who could really criticize this Jagannath culture or the Jai Sri Ram culture? We cannot expect from a Brahmin fellow. We can welcome them, we can entertain them, but it is very difficult to expect anything from a Karana fellow. Who can write? And who has this, what to say, whose writing could really challenge this, dominance? It is no other than women, SC, ST and OBCs. So this kind of, thought and thinking could really generate a consciousness in the state. And that could also help our students who are in different universities. And Julie was one of them. You see how she speaks? You see the power of articulation in Julie? Who can really understand when somebody could go to Central University or any Central University and they really face those kind of problems? There is an article by Gopal Guru in 2002, he wrote. That article really created a debate in Indian social sciences. How experience become an epistemology, right? And what he writes, all the things that we speak in the class, we are really termed as activists. We are emotional. And these all are, problem our students are facing at different stage and different level. One of the expectation was to address those things as well. When we are motivating students to go to university, but what kind of problems students face in the university? Who can really guide them? Who can really give some kind of suggestion? Who can really tell them to read, okay, this book by Gopal Guru or this book by W.E.B. Du Bois or James Baldwin, right? It's not there in our state. You may say me arrogant, but this is the fact. And how we really create that intellectual solidarity or intellectual, friendship. At least we can encourage each other, read each other article or suggest them to, write more or read more. I would say that we do not have even reading culture in the state. If at all we need to create that discourse, if a Brahminical person from across community, let's say, is reading one book, we need to read 5 books. Right? So therefore, we are missing those, powerful articulation in the state. And thinking about this emancipatory intellectual movement, objective is that how there should be a relation between student, researcher and the faculty. Teaching in different universities, studying in different universities, and what we really study. Someone is from, I was talking to someone during the break time, and the topic was this: mental health. Have we ever questioned the caste and mental health? Have we ever questioned how an Adivasi person living in the Koraput, village, there is no electricity, there is no transportation, there is no such, worldly facility. And when we think about them, it is not a traumatic life that we live in some way. There is a huge gap, right? So who can do this research? And I'm sorry to say that it's not happening in Odisha, but if you see at national level and international level, this question have been appropriated. Okay, I have written something, it would be coming. So it is something like, who could speak and who could really, speak better. Probably we may lack in articulating, whether in writing form or in speaking form, but someone actually representing us. Let's assert ourselves, right? So therefore there are multiple problems, and I hope, I was even expecting, we all were expecting that at least those who were so much, those who did so much politics in their student life, they could really come to the program like this and interact and open up themselves. Unfortunate, it's very different. That's why we thought Professor Aloysius could be a best person to speak to student, researcher, and the faculty, teacher, and so on. In what way we can think about, all these thinkers, all these issues, bring it to the classroom, bring it to the, seminar hall, bring it to the university spaces. If you go to Utkal University, what do you see in the very front? If you go to Sambalpur University, what do you see in the gate? The very entry of these universities are, anti-intellectual. It is same Brahminical symbols. What Saraswati and Ganesh has to do with our educational life? Correct? It is not been even questioned in the university seminar. So there are n number of issues actually. So I hope this seminar might generate that kind of thinking and consciousness. And when we discuss, we only discuss about so many problems in the state. This is also a problem, of course, but we say there are there is division within SC, reservation has been taken out. There are discrimination in spaces. That is one way to actually tell. The other way to deal intellectually, people who really like to read, write, and think, and take it further, they have also different problem. So I would not prolong this discussion. So I hope the objective of this workshop, I don't know how much we have achieved this. I don't believe in this achievement. It is, as I said, life is a struggle and our emancipation is a struggle. It is an emancipatory struggle. So therefore, I would say those who are doing MA and MPhil, PhD and professor, wherever we are, I think we need to convince ourselves that if at all we have to create emancipatory intellectual movement, whether one is in science department, whether one is in economics or cultural studies or anything, and any department. I think everywhere, there are problems, and one need to really question all those, systemic acceptance of this invisibility, systemic practice of this different way of different kind of normalization of Brahmanism. One would say in a nuances, one would really find it. So with this, I thank each and everyone. I particularly thank Professor G. Aloysius. We were interested to invite him in the last semester or last during month of January. It could not really materialize. So, and we're so glad, we're so thankful to him. He came all the way from Delhi to Bhubaneswar. It was his first institution to start his career, but there is also another story of that. So we thank very much for him coming here and speaking to us. I hope in future we definitely like to bring many other intellectuals across globe to this, this state of this land, and hope through their intervention, their motivation, and their inspiration, we can, think and read, write, and so on. And I thank each and everyone who participated throughout the day. I thank this Institute NISWAS for providing this very, very unique space. When we came to this institute, we were so delighted. And when we saw the the website of NISWA's Ambedkar Studies, Buddhist Studies, it is so inspiring for us. I don't know how those courses are running here. So, but if there would be any opportunity from NISWA's, we are very much eager to contribute to the NISWA's itself, and would like to organize a 7 days or 15 days workshop by which we can further develop and generate critical thinking, critical consciousness from emancipatory perspective. I also thank our whole organizing team, Julie, Subal. They were the key, they were the mastermind of thinking about this, because when they shared this problem that whether someone is writing PhD or someone is doing master, as I said, it's there, the problem is there, but how somebody could really address those problems. I also thank them. I thank Ratna Kumar and Maitra and many others, friend. I thank Rajesh all the way from Kandhamar, Vijayanath, and many others. Swati, we went to Ravenshaw University. I thank Ishwar. So Ishwar narrated his own story, and so therefore we need different platform. When I was saying to my group, can we really identify what are the intellectual movement? Not writing would be one form of intellectual movement. There could be so many forms of intellectual movement when it comes to when you think about this movement seriously. So therefore, and everyone who have contributed to this program, we wholeheartedly thankful to them. Because of them only this program we managed to organize. It is very much, this initiative is to, it is very, how to put it, this initiative is to confine, somebody say narrow, okay, narrow and confine, to think about those issues in terms of an intellectual formation. Because I have attended so many meetings, whenever we go to meetings, we see n number of lectures, but no writings. Seriously, if I have to ask you a question, can you tell me one article on tribe or Dalits or OBC in the state that could at least give a basic information? We don't have that. There could be many, please tell me if I am missing anything. So who can do that really? So therefore, we thought of having those kind of dialogue and discussion. I thank each and everyone again. And last point that I will share and I'll stop. Those who have read who were untouchable and how they become untouchable. In the very first page of his book, this preface, Ambedkar writes, Indian people could not produce Voltaire, referring to Brahmins in India. Because Brahmin are the Bhudeva, the intellectual, whatever they say that become the Brahma Bhakya. It is sacrosanct, it is infallible, and so on. Right? So, Professor was saying that annihilation of caste become, it could not really sustain. But Ambedkar raised this question in 1936, where this caste is not a national problem. And the people who claim themselves as intellectual and the intellectual who can guide and direct the society, they fail to take it further. So therefore, when we think about emancipatory intellectual movement in a state like Odisha, I think we are hearing so much from outside of Odisha, but there is a time now, the time has come to think about Odisha itself, to reinterpret history, to deconstruct history and rewrite history. Probably that could, and that is the job of intellectual. So in that context, Ambedkar really give us a framework, right? So therefore, I need not to cite my own essay. Recently I published Phule Ambedkar knowledge, critical knowledge, education, so on. So I basically say that, and at this point of time that we are thinking about knowledge and education, there are two ways to problematize. There is rampant privatization of education, and there is Hinduization of education. And we really call ourselves as Ambedkarite, Fulloite, Vimavoy, and Emancipatory. We are actually in the big, trouble. Where do we really place ourselves? So therefore, there is so much to say. I would not take much time, but at the end, I would say thank to each and everyone coming for this one-day academic workshop. I thank Professor Aloysius and thank each and everyone. Thank our all speaker who guided, who spoke to the point, and I also thank to the person who made food for us, and the person who made really very good tea, and other our organizer member who really served to everyone, and at the end, thank to each and everyone making this a visible workshop, making this at least a point of some kind of realization that there is a need of intellectual movement in Odisha. Whether it is achieved or not, this is I just leave it to you. But I thank everyone for coming here. Jai Bhim.